All right, guys, today's video, I'm going to talk about pole barns and structural insulated panel barns. This here is my neighbor Andrew Flair's barn. He started it a little bit ahead of me. We had a little contest because this barn got knocked down, so he rebuilt it as the pole barn, made it a little bit bigger. And then I live right over here in his backyard. I decided to build a barn, and I said, let's have a little race. And I did structural insulated panels. They're both at about the same stage. Winter has hit, as you can see, so I'm being neighborly. Brought my side-by-side over and plowing his driveway while I'm taking you guys on a tour of his pole barn. So I'm going to show you the cost difference, what the difference is between the two, and let me know what you think, what type of barn you guys would build for yourself. Okay, starting off, Andrew, his pole barn, he added these covered porches on each end of the barn, where I have mine on a corner that wraps around. It's more suitable to the lot, and this is more suitable for his lot. It's got 3 big garage doors. He's going to be using this a lot like a shop, where I'm going to use mine a little bit more like a Barndominium, kind of a hangout barn. So not as much storage, but I'm kind of taking it up a notch or two, but don't tell Flair that. So as you can see, both barns have metal exterior panels. You can put siding on my barn because it's all wood, but because this is a pole barn, everything is 8 foot on center. So this doesn't have a lot to nail to. There's the cross members. Again, this is what you typically see in a pole barn, a metal exterior panel. I could have spent more money, but I didn't want to. I could have put actual siding or cedar, making it look like an old barn. Then these porches, just exactly like both, they have the metal ceiling. Andrew went ahead and did the same thing like I'm going to do, put in can lights so it lights up very nice. They did do something kind of interesting where I have cedar columns. They have these 4x4s, I think they're 4x4, 6x6 posts, but they wrapped them in the metal so it stays looking nice. That's a nice little feature. And he's got several little windows around here. I went with some supersized windows. For the garage doors, we both have 14 by 14 garage doors, 14 wide, 14 tall. We both have 16-foot high ceilings, so this will be a great cost comparison. At the end, I'll be able to show you where we're at on both of them. But I did do one fancy garage door. I have the full glass garage door on one end. That will be the man cave Barndominium part of the barn. So on this end, it mirrors the other end with this big overhang, and it's all lit up. And I think this is kind of where he parks a lot of his toys. Mine, I'm planning on making it more of like an entrance into the house, barbecue grill, kind of a hangout. So utilitarian barn versus Barndominium, fun, kind of a hangout place. So let's go inside and kind of show you the similarities of both barns. Okay, guys, what you'll notice is both barns have the metal walls and metal ceiling, both almost identical, very, very similar. Andrew was able to do, I didn't spend the money on, he put a trench drain in. The reason why I didn't do it is because you have to have a separate septic system. We don't have city sewer and water out here, and that adds an added expense. What I thought I would do, instead of having this nice drain, I've got everything sloped, so I'm just gonna put these drains outside the door. So if the drains are outside, I do not need a septic system. So if I just squeegee it out, which you're gonna have to do anyway, I can get it in an outside drain and it runs down into Andrew's ditch. He's got a jump start on me on the electrical. I've gotten started, but his are pretty much done. So he's put outlets, looks like about every 8 foot down this wall. He's ahead of me in terms of having a second level deck for storage. I think that's great because then you can keep these walls areas from things encroaching out into here. You just got to bring it upstairs. One thing maybe he should have thought of is to find a way to remove one of those railings so that if he had a lift, he's got a forklift, he's got the Bobcat. If you want to get big stuff up there and over, you now have a railing in the way. So he should have probably talked to me ahead of time on that. What I'm trying to do is we also have those elevator lifts that I put in his garage that holds up to 250 pounds, and you put containers and raise them up so you don't have to worry about carrying them up and down these steps. We're trying to go for comfort, ease, functionability, and kind of thinking ahead. I'm just not quite sure what he's using up there, but that would have just been an idea. Also similar in cost, we both put in bathrooms. So he's got the plumbing cost involved here. You can see some of the piping. This was a tornado teardown. That's about what the barn looked like about 7 months ago, a pile of metal and wood. But here is some of the concrete that's been replaced. It's kind of patched in. I did talk to Andrew a little bit about this, that I think he should come in and do the epoxy on all the floors so that everything looks nice and smooth. They'll fill every joint and crack. It cleans up nice. It seems like you guys probably probably have it at home. When you're sweeping your garage floor or a basement floor, you can never get the dirt completely off. You almost have to mop it. But when you put the epoxy down, that does two things. When they grind it, it opens up the pores. It makes the concrete, I believe, almost 5 times stronger than its natural state, so that adds, you don't get cracking, it looks nice, and if you spill something on it, oil, whatever, it just wipes right up. That would be a nice addition, and I'll show you what I've done on my barn. But he has put a bathroom. It's roughed in for this area, so he has that cost. We both have those same costs. We have 16-foot high ceilings. He's already started the radiant heat. Mine's coming in here next week, thank goodness, because it is cold. We're talking temperatures in the zeros, -1 and 2 coming up. The lighting, they've done a great job spanning this stuff out. I've seen a lot of people kind of overdo it or underdo it. There's a place right in the middle, like Baby Bear's Porridge, just right, where you lay out the lighting. And there's professionals that will help you with that, the lighting company. This all looks wonderful. And you can tell we're really in a shop type building because there's just 2 windows over there and a door. So it's not as light and bright as what I've done with my barn. But that also keeps the cost down. We have 2 different kinds of barns, 2 different kinds of builds, remember. Pole barn versus a structural insulated panel. When you build a pole barn, the construction of it, it's really, everything's 8 foot on center of the post. And then you have these cross members going through. So it looks very airy and open, and it's a lot of savings on materials because it's the metal on the outside that helps secure the building. And then you got to insulate that, and then you hide all that insulation with these metal wall panels. Difference is, my barn being a structural insulated panel, it's solid wood on each side with about 5.5 inches of foam inside, and it's a solid member all the way around. I also have a foundation, like a house, going all the way around, where in a pole barn situation, you just have a footing that supports the poles for the pole barn. And they put those every 8 foot on center. But when it's all done, it looks very similar to what mine looks like on the inside. But what you don't get is the efficiencies, the R value that comes with the structural insulated panels. And I'll have some of those specifics for you. We always got to pay taxes, and you always got to pay utility bills. So it's hard to fight the tax guy, but if you can find a way to keep your efficiency and your utility bills down through construction costs and methods, I'm all for that. I will win that race with Andrew when it comes time to heat and cool my barn. One thing that is exactly the same on both barns is the roof trusses. Both have truss systems that are engineered that allows this barn to span. You don't have any posts or supports. That's a wonderful invention. So we both did the exact same thing with this metal ceiling in. There's access holes up in here. I see Andrew's got one back. Then they'll come in and blow the insulation to get probably minimum of an R30. It'd be nice to go R50, and all that's based on the insulation and the depth of it. I do see something that I have to get from my barn I didn't think too much about is Andrew has this huge fan up there, and the company, believe it or not, I think I can say this, is called Big Ass Fans. So, sorry kids, but that's the name of the fan. And you know why, because look how big they are. That was a little summary of the pole barn. I'm gonna take you guys over and show you my barn, which is called a SIPS. I keep saying that because it's something kind of strange. It's been around for over 50 years, structural insulated panels, but we just don't see it a whole lot. But this turned out absolutely beautiful, so I'm gonna show you another option if you wanna spend, I think, a little bit more. All right, guys, here's my completed barn. I call it a barn, but it's probably Barndominium because it can be a number of things. This is a different kind of construction, and it's very exciting to show you this because I think a lot of people, if they knew about it, would really probably prefer this construction maybe over a pole barn. That'll be for you to decide. The exterior you can see is metal, very similar to the pole barn that Flair had. I had an opportunity to use a brand new color, so that's what you're seeing. This is brand new to the industry, and there's a black ribbon around the bottom. That's my foundation, and I insulated that with about 2 inches of foam because here, as you can see, I'm in cold weather, and we want to stop that thermal transition going from concrete all the way through. So it's a thermal break. You don't get that on a pole barn. I added some extra little details. The soffit underneath is metal, just as the pole barn, but I added the cedar columns where on the pole barn, they wrap those in black. Here, I'm gonna stain those just because I like the contrasting colors, and I went with the bigger windows. Remember, I had these in my shop, so I thought, let's find a way to get creative. And so we created a 4-window detail. I went with 8 foot taller doors because that's what I put in all my homes. And I raised those up here kind of high for a little accent, but down below, that gives me a lot of shop space, countertop space, but yet I have a lot of some some windows letting light in, but it doesn't really interrupt the barn on the inside. So let's go inside and let's go into some of the details. If you guys want a bus, this thing's for sale. Remember, I built it for my son because he was going to travel the world. Well, then I took too long fixing it up. Then he got a job, then a girlfriend, and then married. So hence, the bus is sitting here in my shop barn. It's the first thing to come inside. I'm a little disappointed because my floors are all done and I'm getting it all muddy, but it should clean up real nice. I'm gonna get this out of here so we can talk about what this thing looks like on the inside. Okay, this got all kinds of buttons and lights that I can turn on in case we see a train coming. Right on, baby, first try. Here we go. All aboard. All right, little children's right in the back of the bus. All right, let's get inside where it's a little warmer and we'll talk barn. Okay guys, I'm inside my barn. As you can see, it's very similar. I think it's the exact same size as Flair's, but we have the same metal ceiling, metal walls, but what's different is here's my foundation right here. So what I like about this, does two things. It's structurally sound all the way around. Every single panel is tied into the foundation, where a pole barn, it's got 8 foot in between, and then it's hollow, if you will. So solid panels all the way through. Then when I'm power washing, cleaning up, I have a concrete to go up against. So it's just like a little extra barrier. I probably will paint that. In the race for the barns, I've got my electrical in. As you can see, we have lights. Andrew's got a jump start because he has heat in the ceiling that we're doing radiant heat. What's great about radiant heat versus those great big heaters that blow hot air, when you open and close these garage doors, you can see it's cold. I'm breathing, is that all your hot air goes out. With radiant heat, it heats objects. So when the doors open up and then they close back down, the car that you're driving out or Bobcat, whatever, is heated. So when you start it up, it's already warm. Then when you close the doors, all the objects inside radiate the heat, so it warms it up much quicker. So that's what you'll see a lot of, and I'm gonna be doing the same thing in here as well. You can see we have the same garage doors. I have 3 garage doors, Flair has 3. I did spend a little extra and did the glass garage door down there. That's probably close to 25 grand. And that's why my wife asked, why didn't we put a glass one on the front of the barn? I said, because it's about another $15,000 to $16,000. So maybe someday we'll convert that out. But for now, I've treated the floors. This just got done. These are the epoxy floors I was telling about. I think this would be a huge addition. It's quite the investment to do that. And I'll break this down. You're gonna be spending anywhere between $5 and $7.50 a square foot for epoxying the floors. When you got a lot of space, I have 6,000 square feet here, but you'll see down here, I didn't do all 6,000 because where all that wood is shown in the background, that is where I'm gonna finish it off as a Barndominium. So it doesn't make sense to finish the floors in there because I don't want this as a finished floor. I wanna have LVT, maybe carpet, something like that. So I save that expense. For example, LVT floors is probably almost the same amount of money as doing the epoxy floors, in about that $6 to $7 a square foot. So with the windows, my fear factor was if I had too much, I'm losing wall space to store stuff on, right? But see how high these are? It adds for a nice exterior look, but at the same time, I'm able to build a countertop, kind of a shop area where all the tools can go. You're readily available. And because I have a garage door and a door here, and I have a door and a garage door there, this really is a space that will never really have a vehicle getting into. So I have created kind of about a 20 by 16 space where I can keep tools, what have you, shop things. And then the whole idea is I want to keep those walls just kind of looking nice, maybe hang like an American flag. I just don't want to have shelving, so I'm going to do what Flair did, is at this end is where I'll build a wall, and the upper deck where you see it goes up and kind of L's, that white, that will be the whole second level for storage. So the whole second level will be nothing but storage up and out of the way. Another thing, this is kind of the feature of the front exterior is I took 4 simple, inexpensive windows and I put them in that little cluster, and there's framing in between. It lets a lot of nice light in, and once again, out of the way for vehicles. But if I made this into like a man cave, kind of a fun barn, if I get the budget, maybe I can buy like a sports car and I can just park it right here in front. Kind of a funny story. I did buy a Corvette at an auction, a 1976 Corvette, brought it home. My wife said, that's the ugliest Camaro she's ever seen. She doesn't know one car from another. So I'll just tell her I'm going to buy a Camaro, since that's what she must like, and I can get like a nice Corvette or something right here and drive it on the weekends. Okay, remember I talked about when you put your windows in, it's important. I went ahead and we spray foamed all the way around these windows. And when we go to finish this off, we'll probably add a little bit more. Today would be a good day to see if you can feel any air coming through, and I do not. A little bit more wouldn't hurt, but when we get all done, all this disappears, and what's behind the walls, you'll never see again, but you can never do it again once you get your house done, so that's important. That looks even taller. I have 16-foot high ceilings. Yeah, this thing's way up there. The idea behind this would be the living area, kind of hang out, maybe put a fireplace in. I'm looking for some ideas. Where this blue lift, scissor lift is, that's kind of where the bar would be, and behind there is the bathroom. You'll see all the plumbing. The same amount of plumbing that Flair has, so our costs will be very similar. I do have like an extra sink, but that little box housing is there only temporarily because when we're building the barn, the weather's got so cold that I forgot to put a stop box on. And since then, they have come and done that. Here's the little tool that you will use to go outside, and I put a flag on it, and you'll probably see them in your driveways. That's what turns the water on and off. Here's this example to give you a sense of how thick the walls are. These are approximately, I want to say they're about 7 inches thick. If you're building a home and you put these windows in, you might only have this much more of framing. So these little holes right here you're seeing, those are the raceways that have been set up for the electrician. So they haven't been to this part of the barn yet, but they'll be able to pull their wires through up and down so they can get the outlets into these walls. And that's a very efficient way to go as well. Plus, this doesn't stick out like we did on that side. I don't care so much about the inside of the barn area. Both Flair and I put them all in conduit, and they're attached to the face. We could paint that, it'll go away, but when you're building a house, you don't want that stuff coming in here. This was the little stop box that did not get put on in the very beginning. We got the box built, we don't need it anymore. This turns the water on and off, so we're set. My porch is more of a wraparound, okay, where Flair put his on each end. This is going to be more of a kind of a hangout. Got some big, beautiful views looking down this way. So I took advantage of that. That will be an office there, maybe a potential bedroom someday, but right now it's an office. We're not moving into this thing because I had to make a deal with the county that I would build this as a barn. If I make this a house, I can't build a house. So that's another story too. So these are all 8-foot Anderson sliders, just like you'd find on a house. And all this metal ceiling is just the same. These are all made out of trusses. But what I did a little different was went up with these big cedar posts. I'll stain those because I like that color contrast. Then this will be a patio wrapped around some landscaping. So you'll have a sense of pulling up where the Bobcat is and going into the door like a mudroom, be able to go in either into the garage area or go into the living area. This black is, you can see about 2 inches of foam because that's the foundation. You can see the concrete there, they cut it out for the door and it comes back up. So we have that band, and making it black kind of gives the sense of the building is sitting on something. I always use that term like it's anchored, and that's a great look. It would have just disappeared. You wouldn't have got the benefit if I kept it the same color. So that black really kind of helps set it off. Okay guys, we've showed you the difference between a pole barn and a SIPS barn, some of the benefits, pros and cons of each one. Then we'll get into the cost difference of each one, but also there's a time savings with the SIPs. These are made in a factory ahead of time, where a pole barn, all the materials delivered on site, and they got to put every single thing together. So there's some pros and cons to that as well. So with that, I'm going to sit down and go over some of the details and lay it out in general, some cost per square foot, because it's easy to go with a cost per square foot versus a cost of a barn. We do a lot of that with homes. We should do the same thing with barns. So even though both these are pretty much the exact same size, I think it'll be helpful for you guys to have that information. All right, guys, so now it's time to kind of go over the costs and summarize between the two. The big thing was timeline. He had a good 2-month jump on me with the SIPS panels. Even though his barn's being built, mine are being built in the factory and shipped here. So once they come, they're already built to scale, size, engineered, and all they do is set that up. We had my entire barn walls up in 3 days, and the roof trusses were on in another day and a half. So within 5 days, My barn structure was already up, and then the extra 2 weeks was all the details, metal, putting in the windows. So pretty much, I think I caught up with Flair. Just for FYI, you guys are asking, how did the race go? And I think it was pretty close to a tie. He maybe beat me by a couple of days. So anyway, let's get into the cost. So site work is number one when you start any job. Every site is going to be different. So some sites require retaining walls, a lot of dirt to be moved. I had a lot of extra site work that I had to prepare on my property. I used a lot of that dirt to build a pond, and then I had to build it out to increase the size of the building. But I'm not going to factor that in because you pretty much are going to start with a flat piece of ground. So site work is, I'm leaving it out of the equation. So next, foundation. I have a poured foundation like you have on a house that goes all the way around. It goes 4 foot into the ground because we're the market we live in. We have to go 48 inches, 42 in the ground, we go 48 because of the frost. So it's no different than a slab on grade home. My foundation cost was around $42,000, and that also includes an exterior kind of a retaining wall that I built, and also for my covered porch. It goes all the way around. Where a pole barn, Flair's, he has just a post underneath each post, a footing under each post, where mine are connected all the way around. And both buildings are 6,000 square feet. So the foundation cost was around $7 a square foot. 42,000 divided by 6,000 is $7 a square foot. We both have to pour the slab. I did a 5-inch slab. I'm not quite sure what Andrew Flair did. I believe it was a 5-inch poured concrete with rebar. And back to the grading, your concrete guys will come in and grade and prepare the site, making it nice and level. If they bring in a crushed rock, we got to put, a lot of times they'll put a plastic down. It just depends on your market. And all that is included into your concrete cost. My concrete cost was around $6.33 a square foot, roughly $38,000. So I like the cost per square foot because that helps you guys in your market to kind of get a sense when you're getting bids to know how close that is. So a 5-inch concrete is going to range anywhere between $6 and $7.50 a square foot. So materials, the entire building package, that was for me around $168,000. That's $28 a square foot. And what that includes all the walls, that includes all the trusses for the roof, that's the metal that goes on the roof for the finished roof, all the metal siding that goes around, all the overhangs, the cedar posts that we have. So when every piece of material that comes out is in that package. And also in my package, my walls are already insulated because of the SIPS panels. So that's also included into my material package. And that ended up being around $28 a square foot. That is very economical. And I've been talking to Andrew Flair just briefly the other day. I'm getting his cost in. He believes his cost for his barn was even more than that. So I'll just say it's pretty comparable. But what I get on mine is my walls are better, solid wood inside and out. It's built better than a house, if you will, and I have insulation. So we're ahead on the SIPS panels. Labor, somebody's got to put all that together. The labor to do this, the bid was around $75,000, $12.50 a square foot. I think Andrew Flair's, his pole barn was very comparable to that, and those guys put every single thing together. They set the trusses, set the panels, set the roof trusses. They do the metal on the inside. They prep everything. My guys set the windows, doors. So that's what the labor cost is. You don't have to bring anybody else in when you build these barns. They pretty much do everything except for what we get into now, the garage doors. They don't do that. I have 3 garage doors. One of mine is glass, which is about 25 grand, about another 15,000 more than a normal garage door. 3 garage doors, roughly, I have $40,000 in there. Andrew might be a little bit less, but at the end of the day, that's only 67 cents a square foot. And these are insulated garage doors, well built. So when you have an insulated building, you don't want to compromise on garage doors because that's a huge space, 14 foot wide, 14 foot tall, where you can lose your energy and efficiency. So upgrade your garage doors, it's well worth it. Now we get into the insulation. I only have to do the attic insulation, where a pole barn, you have to go around all the perimeter, everything, so there's an added cost there. And the SIPS barn, mine, get this, if you want to blow your attic insulation to an R38, so a lot of people go, what the heck is an R38? The higher the R value, the better, but there's a diminishing return. So an attic, we used to do 30 in the attic, now we go to 38. That's 13 inches of insulation that they'll blow in. That's on a barn of my size, 6,000 square feet, $8,500, which is $1.42 a square foot. And then if I wanted to upgrade it to an R50, which is even better, you know, another 12 R value, that goes from 13 inches to 18 inches. That's quite a bit, but get this, the cost difference is only $850 more. To me, that's a no-brainer. Do the R50 for $850. You're gonna pick that money back up in no time with your utility bills. That extra cost went from $1.42 a square foot for the R38 to $1.56. These are things you don't have to do on a barn, but we both, Flair did and I did. We added electrical, just basic electrical. Outlets, lights in the ceiling, nothing fancy. Right now, I'm guessing, I'm still waiting for it. My electrical was probably close to the $8,000, might be a little bit more for fixtures, but you're gonna be in that about $1.50 to $2 a square foot, roughly. Then we also had plumbing, just the rough end. You can put the plumbing in and not put the bathroom, because once your concrete floors are poured, you gotta tear all that concrete out to put a bathroom in. So I recommend planning ahead, spend the money a little bit early, where the plumber comes in, gets the bathroom, the drains, gets all those in place, so when you pour your concrete, it's done. You can always finish it later. To rough in a half bath and a sink, something like that, and a drain, you're looking at around $7 to $8 grand, about $1.20 a square foot, no more than $2 a square foot. And then at the end of so you add all that up, you're going to be at around $40 to $45 a square foot. But here's the kicker. I didn't add a builder's fee. Some people, you can try do this yourself. I always tell people, how much money do you think you're going to save, and what's it going to cost you when you make mistakes? If you've never done this before, I'll guarantee you're going to make mistakes. And a lot of times what happens is when you deal with subcontractors and there's not a general contractor involved that helps the schedule, they will typically charge more because they know they're going to have to do the work of a general contractor. So are you really saving money? And there's peace of mind having someone that knows what they want. So what's that cost? You're anywhere from 15 to 20% of the project. So we're looking at anywhere from like maybe $9 to $12 a square foot. Not a big number. And I strongly recommend that is probably one of the better investments you're going to make, because once you get into it and you're making mistakes and then you call someone in to help fix that problem, it's going to cost you more. Every time I've had a mistake or a problem, it's never twice the cost. It's always way more than that. And it's just a headache, a hassle, and then you might have created a problem that's going to be a problem forever. So I hope this stuff kind of helps you to break it down to your cost per square foot. You can build a barn or a shop or something that's 6,000 square feet and you're in there for around 60 to 70 bucks a square foot, all in, well under 100. Oh my gosh, that is phenomenal, because building homes, all done completed, which is a whole different animal, you're at over 300 bucks a square foot. So I would recommend, me personally, I believe the cost to Flair's pole barn to my SIPS barn, not that much more money, but I think you get a much more solid, long, better built building, especially if you're going to make this into a Barndominium. You literally have now created a house, because a foundation, bigger, better walls, it's more solid, and in the long run, you'll be much happier. So let me know your thoughts, and if you are interested in knowing more of the details, I can get into more details on my barn as I start to finish it, but I hope this at a high level helps you guys make a decision on which direction you should go. The difference between these two barns, the pole barns and the SIP structural insulated panels, I'm really here to kind of show you another option that you may not know that's available. Pole barns are fantastic. They serve a purpose. They go up quick. They're very fast and easy, but there's SIP barns do the same thing, and the cost is just a little bit more. I think it's going to benefit you to do your homework, reach out. When you're making this kind of investment, why not spend a little extra time and see if it makes sense for you to know if a SIPS barn structure is going to be something that you might want to have on your property versus a pole barn. Keep that in mind. Reach out to me. I'm here to help, and I hope this helps you guys. Let me know. I really appreciate you watching. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed the barn tour. Give me some comments and likes. Also, I'd like to hear what you think I should do on the inside of my barn, and also, which barn would you build? So with that, I'm putting this bus back in the barn. Thanks for watching. I'm Brad the Builder.
You got a horn on that thing?
Of course. It's a little horn.